Welcome back to another reaction for Akane-banashi episode 5.
あかね、もう起きる時間じゃないの？遅れるよ。やば。あかね、行ってきます。
Okay. So I'm assuming Tenshiki. I'm assuming she listened to maybe even more of this storytelling in some other context by sleeping. I don't really remember how good that is, essentially. By the way, we go straight into the opening. But I remember having heard that you can learn stuff by sleeping. Again, don't know exactly how true that is. Fifth story, her path forward. Okay. So it's school.
それでは先日の中間テストの答案を返します。足立さん、
はい。
内田くん、
はい。
江原くん、
はい。
大崎さん、
はい。
尾崎くん、
はい。
Did she get enough points?
よかった。思ったより点数悪くなくて、リサユカのおかげだよ。感謝。ほんとあかね、この前の期末やばかったもんね。
お母さんガチギレ案件。
いや、今はおっかいより恐ろしい人がいて。じゃあお祝いスイーツいっとく。
いやいや、わかねえ。忘れてない。
Work.
大崎さん、
Oh.
あなた今日進路相談があることを忘れていましたね。
No.
いや、
あなただけですよ。進路調査書を提出していないのは。
本当ですか？
気をつけてください。
I mean, she knows what she wants to do, right? Why not write it down? Is there a reason for that? It feels like it's a simple, I want to do this, be done, right? Now, if I remember correctly, you need like a second and third choice, but you can just put whatever. Probably, I hope. Also, I'm assuming you are going back to learn with the Banashi storytelling, whatever it's called. I totally forgot. But it seems like you don't go every day. I assumed you would go every day. So you only go certain days?
はい、すみません。
今回の中間テストの結果は頑張りましたね。赤点が一つもない。
そうなんです。今回は頑張りました。
なるほど。今までは頑張っていなかったと。
いえ、すみません。
It just means if she wants to, she can get it done.
今の大崎さんの学力で候補となる大学は。
あ、それなら大丈夫です。私、落語家になります。だから就職も進学もしません。
なるほど。わかりました。では、あなたの学力で合格圏内かつ落ち圏のある大学で調べてみましょう。
I mean, she did have a reaction. I wonder what that reaction is. Maybe she has some knowledge about it. Maybe she took part in it. Maybe she knew her dad. Because it's hard to gauge. First off, it seems to be hard to get into the higher echelon in the Rakugo storytelling. I'm just going to call it storytelling. It seems like it's going to be hard to get higher up there. And then the question is it a good profession? Are you going to make a good living off of that. That is hard to say. There seems to be some master. I could imagine that you get a little bit money from doing the storytelling yourself, and you get supplement income by your apprentices. Otherwise, I don't really know. I mean, granted, we have not seen higher people in higher positions doing some of these shows at the moment. The only thing that was somewhat bigger was the advancement exam or whatever we saw her dad take. So maybe the bigger ones, the bigger names, they are similar to celebrities. They have, or better said, similar to comedians, that they have a whole show where a lot of people gather and you make a decent living.
だから私大学へは
大崎さん、はっきり言わせていただきますが、進学も就職もしないなんて先行きが不透明すぎます。しかも落語家なんてよくわからない職業に就くなんて。
先生は落語見たことあるんですか？
ありませんが。
I can definitely see the point of the teacher being like, hey, going to college is not going to hurt you because it's always going to be useful later on if you ever need it. And she has no idea about Rakugo. Now, this is a little bit of ignorance speaking naturally. That she, similar to me, she probably doesn't know. Can you even make a living? How well can you make a living if you are on a lower level? Her dad had a real problem making money, even though he did it for years, and the mom had to supplement his pursuit. So how would it look like to live as a Rakugo? That is where the information is a little bit scarce at the moment.
だったらこれ明日あるんで、よかったら。
大崎さん、あなたが私に提出すべきものはイベントのチラシではなく進路調査書です。
でも私、
こちら先ほど申し上げた条件に該当する大学のパンフレットです。目を通して今週中に進路調査書の提出をお願いします。
落語家としか書かないですよ。
でしたら希望の大学を選べるまで放課後つきっきりで進路指導して差し上げます。
I mean, she's just doing her job. Now, Akane cannot just say, I'm going to do Rakugo, and I'm going to say no to your one-on-one counseling. And that is that.
うわ、マジでやばいじゃん。岩瀬あれガチ？いやガチか。あの氷の女ならやりかねない。放課後潰されたら修行の時間がなくなるじゃん。
なんて顔してんだよ。面談で岩瀬にこっぴどく言われたが。
ジャンボじゃん。あ、
You know her?
ジャンボも面談？
俺は明日。今から部活だよ。
そっか。
お前さ、落語のことを親と師匠からちゃんと許可もらってんだろ？だったら何言われても気にすることないんじゃねえの？
That look. I just mistook him for the other dude. I don't know why. They're a little bit, tiny little bit similar. This guy's totally new.
って何その顔？
いやー、ほんと立派になったよね、ジャンボは。とても小学生の頃の嘘泣き野郎と同じ人とは思えないよ。
お前、それ言うなって言ってんじゃん。
柔道を始めて大正解だったわ。
いや、何目線だよ。
Okay. Childhood friend.
ありがとね。 気遣って声かけてくれたんでしょ。私なら大丈夫。落語家になること、あの岩線に絶対認めさせるわ。
I do wonder if he ever saw her perform. The same with her friends here. Did they ever check how this is? You know, how her performance is now. Granted, all her performances at the moment were pretty last minute. Also, I feel like the Rakugo is something for a somewhat older audience, not necessarily for teenage age.
だものの、
あの岩線だもんね。
どうやったら説得できるかな。正面から言っても絶対論破されるし。
弱みを握って攻める。
怖っ。てかむしろこっちに弱みがありすぎて。
じゃあ逆に仲良くなるのは？ねえよくない？氷の女と？無理か。
それだ、リサナイス。相手の気持ちを知って距離を縮めるのも気働き。修行の成果を見せて岩線とマブダチになっちゃう。
Yeah, it's not going to work. This kind of character is... You need her to go to one of those Rakugos and then more or less convince her that way. Otherwise, you are not going to get her to budge, I feel like. Even if you get her to watch some Rakugo, it's something different to see someone being good at it and have the experience and the ability to make a living of that, and then you following that same path is a little bit different, you know. You are still young. You probably don't know how much you can make as a Rakugo, if even. I mean, that, again, that is a big problem. Perspective is missing. It feels a little bit like someone saying they want to be a comedian or a baseball player or a basketball player. Not everyone is going to be the biggest name out there, but at what point can you pursue this job or this profession and have a decent enough living to continue? That is always a problem. There's like the break-even point at some position, and I don't know where that is.
はい。
失礼します。あ、先生、これからお弁当ですか？
大崎さん、
Don't join her.
何か？
私も一緒に食べていいですか？
He's going to criticize you.
おー、綺麗なお弁当。あ、先生、自分で作ってらっしゃるんですか？
ええ。
すごいな。料理上手。得意料理とかあるんですか？
煮物系でしょうか。
ごちそうさまでした。
What the fuck?
先生、趣味って何ですか？
What the fuck? What did you do to your yakisoba? What the fuck?
趣味というほどではありませんが、読書は好きです。
私も大好きです。本っていいですよね。スマホで読むのもいいけど、あの紙とインクの匂いとかが。
そうでしたか。最近読んだ本で面白いものはありましたか？
え？やば、漫画か落語の本しか読んでない。
You can't name a book that is on the table. Just talk about the Rakugo book. It's not that hard. You can also talk about your manga theoretically. You do have to make the story a little bit more flowery, and then you can say it's like a novel or maybe a story about whatever the manga is about. If it is something romance related, it would work, maybe. Just talk about the Rakugo book. Don't do this.
宮沢賢治とかすっごく面白かったです。
賢治のどの作品が？
銀河鉄道の夜とか。
You can't even see you looking at the book.
どのあたりが面白かったですか？
鉄道が銀河の夜にドーみたいな。
ジョバンニがカンパネルラに抱いた気持ちをどのように感じましたか？
Those characters don't exist.
読んでいませんね。
はい、すみません。
大崎さんは落語が好きなのですよね。
好きです。
落語はそんなに魅力的ですか？
そりゃもう座布団一枚言葉一つで世界を作り出す魅力っていうが、いろんな人物が出てきて魔法みたいに入れ替わり立ち替わり、笑わせて泣かせて引き込む技の凄み。落語に出てくる登場人物ってみんな私たちと同じ普通の人なんです。だから古典とか時代が違ってもすごく共感できて、普段私たちが考えたり感じたりすることが全て落語に生かされる。
What I like is that she's using her hands quite a bit. Not a lot. She's not on the Italian level of talking with your hand. But she's using them quite a bit, in contrast to most other characters, which I feel like is because of the Rakugo. Because you need to emote a lot, use hands, talk a lot, move around a lot, and it feels like she is taking that more and more into the real world, which is a nice little detail.
というか日常生活の全部が落語の修行になるんです。そういうところも。
なるほど。あなたのこの一連の行動は落語家の権を認めさせようとしてのものですね。言っておきますが、私を懐柔しようとしても無駄なことです。
怪獣？
昨日言った通り、進路調査書の提出期限は今週中です。期限は厳守でお願いします。
Again, just put down Rakugo. I mean, the only thing you could do is maybe do a small version for her alone, but I don't really know what the consequence is if you don't do what she is saying. More meetings, maybe. Can she do more? Because at some point, I mean, it's her job essentially to get you into some kind of college. But I feel like not listening to your students. I'm not a teacher. So, but I feel like at some point you would need to relent and be like, okay, I tried. I'm just going to tell you that this could be a very big mistake. And then you have to let it be.
当たって砕けたか。言わせんだけに。
いや、半分自滅っていうか、仲良くなる前に落語についてペラペラ熱く語っちゃったし。
どうする？別の作戦考える？
こうなったらもう小細工はやめる。認めてもらえるまで毎日でも進路指導を受けてやる。
いいの？
尾崎くんには柔道のスポーツ推薦の話が来ていますが。
俺は秀英大の斉藤監督に指示するんだ。
そうでしたね。ではその方向で進めましょう。尾崎くんは大崎さんと小学校から一緒でしたね。
ああ、はい。
昨日面談後に話をしていたようですが、
Okay.
彼女は気落ちした様子でしたか？
まあちょっとは。
I'm just wondering where this is coming from. Because she is her teacher, she's like showcased as this cold kind of teacher. But this may be one of those where the teacher is paying a lot of attention. And maybe before she was accepted as a student by the old man. Maybe that is where she looked more depressed because she was trying to follow this path, but no one was willing to take her. So she was always somewhat alone without a clear path forward, trying to reach the Rakugo. But now that she is finally accepted as a student or potential student, she now may be happier. And this is maybe what she picked up on.
でも大丈夫ですよ、あいつなら。
そうですか。とはいえ少々言い過ぎました。今日一日様子が変でしたし、もう一度きちんと話さなければいけませんね。
先生は茜が落語家になるの反対なんですか？
尾崎君には関係のないことです。
そうですけど、気になるっていうか、知らない仲じゃないんで。
It is also interesting now, it's not one-to-one, but he got a scholarship or whatever for judo, and it's going to go for a college that he can use that on. Again, not one-to-one, but he can follow his path, but she is not allowed to. Granted, her path is not going to school, which is probably the biggest part she's against.
そうですね。彼女は少なからず社交性があるタイプでしょう。しかし授業中はいつもぼんやりしていて、何やらわからぬことをブツブツつぶやいては一人でニヤニヤしている。正直不安です。
あのバカ。
たまにいるんです。その時の気分で短絡的に進路を決める生徒が。おそらく彼女もそう。だから多少強引でもちゃんと導かないと。
I mean, granted, she doesn't know about her past, and it's a little bit complicated, her reason to follow this pathway, right? On one hand, it started out as revenge. Partially revenge, partially how much she liked her dad's stories and how mystical everything seemed. And her revenge is not necessarily to get to put him down or something like that, to defeat him, but to showcase what her dad was able to do. And she most likely is going to follow her dad as much as possible and trying to get one over the old guy with what her dad taught her. More or less trying to prove him right, to prove that her dad was or could have been one of the great or good guys.
お前落語家になるって。だってお前の親父さんは。
決めたの。もう決めたから。
そのチラシ、茜からもらったんですか？
もらったというよりは押し付けられたが正しいですね。
先生、そのイベント、俺と一緒。
I mean, hey, you are young, full of energy and stuff and confidence. Sure, shoot your shot. Let's see how this date is going to turn out.
に行きませんか？
結構です。男子生徒と学外で、しかも二人きりで会うなんて、私の社会的信用に関わります。
なら別々でいいです。短絡的かどうかは落語を見てから判断してやってくださいよ。
あなた、大崎さんを随分気にかけているんで。
I mean, first off, is she even taking part in that, or is it only those guys? Second, I mean, they are childhood friends. She is, from what we can see, she seems very extroverted, very probably positive, a pretty positive attitude. So it seems like being around her is going to be able to lift your mood, depending. She also is learning to do storytelling, which means that whatever happens, she probably is very entertaining to listen to whenever she tells the story. So there are a lot of positives to be around her. Now she also looks probably good. Again, very hard to tell in anime. And it may be that he likes her. We will have to see. He does have a very strong smile, which I assume in Japan not very often you see people smile and show emotions.
ですね。
別にそんなんじゃないですよ。
And maybe even he got helped by her. That is always what these types of relationships come down to. Maybe he was very sad, there was something going on, and she made him smile.
ただ、あいつとは小学生からの仲なんで、茜の決断の重さを少しは分かってるつもりだから。
含みのある言い方ですね。
気になるならまず見てみてください。それに、見もしないで決めつけるなんて、それこそ短絡的ってやつじゃないですか？
I guess, I don't know. Oh, additionally, I was wrong. There was no big
昔
situation.
担任していた中に芸人になるのが夢だという生徒がいた。
I feel like comedian and Rakugo are somewhat comparable in the profession itself. Both of them probably very hard to get into, to get your name out there. It seems like Rakugo is more structured with the whole is that you need a teacher that is going to teach you everything. You have all the different students and there is a hierarchy going there. Meanwhile, comedy seems to be more everyone alone, each for their own kind of deal. But both feel like it is very hard to get into, and it is a little bit opaque how well people need to do to make it a successful profession. Flashback. So something happened to that student.
私は彼の夢を応援していた。
お笑いの養成所は半年で辞めちゃって今はフリーターっす。やっぱ才能っすかね。
Okay.
俺には
冷た。
So she is feeling responsible for that, I guess. I mean, the whole school idea is, in my opinion, pretty much not really working, because you are more or less forcing people that have no idea what life has in store, that have no idea where they want to end up at, that people that have no idea about anything, and you are like, okay, decide how to live your life. Do you want to go to college? Do you want to go to university? You have to decide now. Even though you have no idea how the world works, you have to decide now. It just doesn't really work, I feel like. Now, I don't know how it is in Japan. Nowadays, there are a lot of additional ways where I'm from to go and study later on in life. Whenever you are a little bit more situated, you know what you want to do. You can even do it while working, as example. But again, I don't know how that is going to be in Japan. At least the student was able to try to follow his dream, and it didn't work out. Now, this guy was like 6 months. After 6 months, he gave up. Yeah. So I feel like he could have just gone to school after that. Now, again, I don't know how that is in Japan, but I feel like that should have been a possibility to be like, I tried. Didn't feel like it would work out. I'm going back to school to learn something. Right? It's not like he wasted 6 years or like Akane's dad, who was like 15 years or so. Then I could understand not being able to go back. But if he was able to go back and he decided not to, then it's all in all, she should not feel responsible for his failure.
私に何ができただろう。
Nothing.
進路は生徒自身が決めるもの。それでも応援以外にできることはあったはず。たとえ衝突することになったとしても、思ったことを伝える。教師として自分の言葉に責任を持つ。そう心に決めている。
Again, I don't feel like she has to. I mean, her approach is a little bit too hard, but I feel like you should put up some resistance for the students. But if they still don't buckle under your pressure, then you just go and just tell them up front, hey, if you do this, just explain the consequence and then be like, okay, I told you everything I can. I would recommend you to go to college. But it is, in the end, it is your choice. I cannot lead you through life. I'm going to be a teacher here. I can't follow you. So it's on you.
雑居ビルの中にあって少し怪しかったけど。
I assume she had to pay. How much is it? Like $10?
思ったよりちゃんとしてるのね。お客さんも多いし。
あら、あなたがあかねちゃんのお友達？
尾崎くんも来てたのね。
よろしくお願いします。
店長、準備できました。
はーい。楽しんでいってね。
Mm.
大崎さんはこの店の店長と知り合いなのかしら。
No.
大崎さんも尾崎くんもこのイベントにこだわっていた。
Oh, Miss Osaki. Yeah, she knows him, her. They have the same. One is with a Z, one is with an S. It's like, okay, sure. Now, the problem I see, Akane seems to be very dialed in her performance, that she's now paying a lot of attention to the people. So she's instantly going to recognize her if she is going today. I don't really know. It could be one of those where she's performance like 10 minutes first and then the other two go in. She's a warm-up, essentially.
このイベントにこだわっていた。私に何を見せたいの？
So she is. Okay.
大崎さん。
あかねと申します。どうぞ一席お付き合いください。
Again, I feel like she
どうして？
instantly is going
チ
to
ラ
see
シに
her.
名前はなかったのに。これってプロのイベントでしょ？
これは昔のお話で、あるお寺のご住職、具合を悪く
Before we go into the story, she doesn't have the white overcoat thingy. So, again, I feel like that is only allowed if you are the higher rank. I do not remember, because there are like 3 ranks, right? There's the beginner, there's the advanced or whatever intermediate, what her dad was, and then there's like the pro level, right? Now the intermediate, they have like the overcoat, right? They can then chat for the storytelling. I do wonder, I'm assuming you are only allowed to wear that if you are intermediate. I wonder if the pros have a different kind they can wear to showcase, hey, I'm better, similar to like the belt in some of the fight sport thingies, where the color is significant. I do wonder if the same is here as well.
いたしまして先生に往診をしていただいた。その帰り際、和尚、天式はございますかと先生がお尋ねになった。さあ和尚さん、この天式という言葉を知らない。天式とは何でございますかとすぐに聞けばよろしかったんですが、この和尚さん大変な見えっ張り。天式、天式って、天式はございません。
Sounds a little bit like her. Instead of just saying, hey, I have no idea, just try to play it off.
天式。プライドが高く天式を知らないと言えない和尚。自分の代わりに小坊主の陳年に天式が何かを探らせる。
そろそろ薬の調合ができた頃であろう。先生のところに行って取ってきなさい。でその時に先生にお尋ねするのだ。天式とは何でございますかと。いや、和尚に言われたとか余計なこと言うんじゃないぞ。自分の腹から出たように聞いてくるんだ。わかったな。行ってきなさい。行ってまいります。
Now, why do I feel like that the boy already knows what Tenshiki is? And you should just have asked the boy?
こんにちは。先生いますか？はいはい。陳年さん、薬の調合ができておるぞ。この薬をね、2号を1号に煎じて飲むように。どうもありがとうございます。先生、天式って何ですか？随分腹から出たような質問だね。いやいや、天式とはな、つまりあれはほうきのことだ。表を掃除するときに使う？それはほうきだな。そうじゃない。つまりあれだ。おならのことだ。
茜の落語、久しぶりに見たけど、あれからめちゃくちゃ頑張ったんだな。
清丸帯失うと書いて天式。おしょ。
Isn't this what she listened to at the beginning? It just dawned on me.
この前でおならが出ますかとはちょっと言いづらかったのでな。博学多才な和尚ならご存知だろうと思う。
どうよ、バッチリ取れてんだろ？
最低。見てこれ。おならってお尻から出る？あまり口からは出ないな。黄色い。いや、色まではわからん。ほら、陳年の視線がバラバラ。
でもよくない？これぐらい。
よくない。見てる人は陳年の視線を頼りに先生の大きさ、先生との距離を想像するの。これじゃ全然ダメ。やっぱ見られてると感じ変わるね。もう一回、あと一回だけ。
へいへい。
I mean, nice that she had someone very supportive who was... I mean, she could have, I feel like, recorded herself alone. But having someone else also chime in is going to give a little bit of a different perspective. Because depending on who you are, you can be very self-critical. So it's good to have someone else chime in a little bit. Also, he's more or less...
多分、俺が茜だったら、落語のこと嫌いになってたと思う。
Understandable.
茜の親父さんが破門になった例の騒動はニュースでも取り上げられて、あのじじいに対して批判の声が山ほど上がった。その一方で荒川一生の落語にも関心が集まった。 倫理は感動には勝てない。批判は擁護と称賛に変わり、波紋騒動を伝説だと称えるやつまで現れて、俺ですらムカついた。それでも茜は落語家になる道を選んだ。
あれ、
短絡的なんかじゃない。
ないんじゃないの？あ、そうだ、嘘を教えちゃおうかな。そうしよう。お嬢様、行ってまいりました。おお、陳年、ご苦労であった。
So a little mischievous boy we have here. Okay. I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't be a little bit bad? You know, especially if you get run ragged. A little bit of a payback. Every now and then.
天式とは何か聞いてきたか？はい、聞いてまいりました。天式とはお杯のことだそうです。杯？はて、そうか。天という字の下に口を書くと飲むという字になるな。死は酒で酒、木は器。酒を飲む器と書いて天式。ああ、そうか。
Now, this is my limited knowledge of, or zero knowledge about Japanese writing. So he is describing that the different symbols have different meanings, and those together make the word. And he's seeing something that seemingly is not happening. I just find it very interesting because in some of the animes, whenever someone is saying their name, it is always being like, oh, my name is X. It's written as the sun and spring as example, which is always very fascinating to have, like, your name can be written differently and has a different connotation depending on how it is written, which is it's not something you have in the West. It's always in these kinds of alphabets where you have a lot of symbols being used.
俺これ陳年、わしはお前に一度教えたはずだぞ。
毎日教壇に立つからよくわかる。人前で喋る緊張感、
先生、
人に何かを伝える難しさ。
すっかり具合が良くなりまして。ああ、さようですか。それはよろしゅうございました。
身一つ、ほぼ喋りだけで。
愚僧、天式が大好きでしてな。大好き？天式が
見る者を笑わせる。一朝一夕でできる芸当じゃない。
本日は当寺に伝わる天式、先生にご披露した。それには及びません。
私は思い込んでいた。落語家なんて目指すのはきっと一時の思いつき。彼女もまた夢に夢見る子なのだと。
これはまた見事なお杯で。いやいや、至って粗末な天式で。
見もしないで決めつけるなんて、それこそ短絡的ってやつじゃないですか。
Also, just now listening to the story, why do I feel like that the meaning of the word is changing? Because not everyone is going to know what this word means. I mean, the monk didn't know, as example. So by having this wrong definition, but presenting it as right, especially, I don't know how high the monk is seen in society, but if he's seen it as somewhat intelligent or higher up, then people may just take it as true, which could change the meaning of the word, which could be interesting.
おっしゃる通りでしたね。
陳年、お前このような嘘をついて恥ずかしいと思わんのか？いいえ、へとも思いません。
私もまだまだです。
We don't get to see the other? Okay.
なるほど。有言実行というわけですか。
はい、進路指導何時間でも受けて立ちます。
不安はないですか？
不安？
大学を卒業していないというだけで 就職活動で選べる職業の幅は狭くなります。夢を叶えるために選んだその道が将来あなたを苦しめるかもしれない。それでも構わないと、不安はないと言えますか？
はい、へとも思いません。
愚問だったようですね。進路調査書は受理します。後で尾崎君にお礼を言っておくように。
え？
昨日の落語は私の見識を広げてくれました。
やっぱりそうだ。先生、昨日落語喫茶に。
学生向けの落語大会の案内です。本校にも届いていました。実績はあるに越したことはないでしょう。出てみませんか？
Interesting. Again, I feel like putting a little bit resistance in the path of a student that wants to go a different unorthodox way is a good idea. And whenever they push through, you just accept that they want to do that. However, she went above and beyond and even got some stuff for her to go or do in that direction. As she was saying, having some credits under your belt is going to be useful anyway. So that is pretty nice. So someone who is hopefully a little bit supportive.
今年の審査委員長は
Oh.
今年の審査委員長は荒川一生ですよ。
I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit too early. Right? Also, how is he the guy who is judging that? I feel like he's just going to sit there, yeah, you all suck. Yeah, we are students. We just started doing this. Yeah, you all suck. You should all stop pursuing this and do something else. He's not going to be a good judge, I feel like.
目線の高さまで考えなきゃいけないのかよ。落語って大変だな。
そうでもないよ。決まりを覚えちゃえば意外と簡単だから。
決まり？
例えば落語って右向いたり左向いたりして喋るでしょ。
By the way, saying that as soon as you understand the rules, it's easy. Guess what? That is most professions. I know a little bit about IT as example. I mean, I am the stereotype. So stuff that I see as totally normal things that I feel like everyone knows. Guess what? Not everyone knows. Rarely people know. And that is one of those things whenever you are in the profession, stuff it is hard for you to understand how difficult some of the parts are because it feels so easy to you.
上下を切るって言うんだけど、訪ねてきた人はこっち側にいてこっち向いて喋る。家にいる人、つまり迎える側の人はこっちにいてこっち向いて喋る。そう決まってんの。
そうなのか。
歌舞伎の舞台を見ると分かりやすいよ。客席から見て左側、下手に花道があって、右側、上手に建物があるの。入ってくる人は必ず下手から来て、迎える人は上手にいるんだよね。
なるほど。
Man, okay.
顔や目線の向きだけでもいろいろわかるんだな。
そう。その人が家の中にいるのか外にいるのか、相手の背が高いのか低いのか、あとは
真上。それはどんな時なんだ？
ネタが飛んだ時。
いや、ちゃんと覚えとけよ。
Yeah, a lot of rules. Stupid insects, summer. Meh. No luck. Okay. A lot of different rules. I feel like that is one of those things. Tradition. A lot of the old stories also seem to be very strict. how you tell them and in which direction they go. Again, it feels like it is very much all about tradition. So there are some rules you have to abide by. I mean, it makes sense that if you are a smaller character, if you impersonate them, you have to look up to a different character, because all of these minute details makes the story more believable and doesn't break your sense of disbelief or whatever it was called. This all is going to add to your willingness to be introduced into the story, right? That is also in anime and stuff where, especially like isekai, whenever there's too much stuff going on that is a little bit too convenient, you are like, I don't know. The story has the chance to lose you. So all these little details are very important, especially in Rakugo. There are not a lot of details people can look at. It's the person there and all the props they have. So everything has that much more weight. We saw that in her Rakugo about the monk taking out a parcel or like the medicine, giving it to someone, the other person receiving it. This is all going to be so much more important and needs to be done really well, because there's not a lot the person can focus on. There's not a lot of extra detail that is going to hide any errors.